Hi, everybody. This is Jessica. I'm the Children's Book Buyer here at Baker Book House. I'm going to go ahead and go right into telling you guys about some of the new books that we've had come in the last few months. We're going to start with our 0 to 2s and kind of work our way up to the older ages. So to start off, we're going to have the Easy for Me Bible verses. This is a great start to teach young ones. Different key Bible verses. There's no necessarily rhyme or reason to the order and how they're in here. They just pair like ones together. And the illustrations are absolutely adorable and very colorful. Will attract the little one's attention very well. This next one is by Alexandria Schmidt. It is Hush Little Baby. It does play off of the song, but it puts a biblical spin in it, and it teaches us to remember that God will always provide for us. It's a little mouse and his mom throughout the entire story, and I absolutely love the illustrations. All right, this next one is a Flip the Flap book. It talks on how big God is. I like this one because the flaps are bigger, so it's easy for little hands to grab, and they're super sturdy, so they're not going to get damaged as easily. But it starts to teach them, how God is bigger than the biggest word that we know, and stronger than the strongest superhero, more loving than the most loving person we know, and that kind of thing. Max Lucado came out with another kids book. It's called Where'd My Giggle Go? This is a really cute story that teaches kids that when we can't find our happiness, sometimes we find it when we make others happy. So the main character goes on a search for where his giggles went. Everybody loves a good pun. Pug-tato, Let's Be Best Buddies is a second one in the series by Sophie Corrigan. The first one is a picture book. This one is a board book format. This is absolutely hilarious and will have parents giggling right along with their kids and all of the different puns with their animal garden combinations. These next two books start teaching little ones who God is and some of the harder concepts to understand, like the Trinity or what it means to be made in the image of God. So in the Trinity, there is a great little page that just sums it up of what each part of the Trinity is and their different functions. And then the image of God I really enjoyed because it teaches little ones how we are made in the image of God and the things that we do reflect who he is. The Moon Speaks by Jason Deucing is a beautiful book that points God to nature and how everything in nature reflects who God is in different aspects of him. Like the snow, it's pure. God is as pure as the snow. I love the illustrations in this one as well. That coloring is beautiful. All right, God is Always Loving You by Jana. This is a great telling of how in every sad, hard, or lonely moment, God is always there for us, showing us who he is and giving us hope and love. There's a subtle depiction of how sometimes God shows us his love through the love of others throughout it too. It's super fun. All right, God, I Know You're Good. This talks on how in every instance God is good. When the birds are singing and different adventures and things, it shows how God is there and how he's always good. God Made You to Be You by Ivey is a super fun book about Sammy the cactus and how he starts wishing that he was like his other friends. He can't crawl or jump or move. He's stuck there. But his friends help him soon learn that God made him the way that he was so that the others could get food and shelter that they need. So he learns to be happy with how God made everybody the way that they are for a reason. All right. Next up, we have these two new additions to Tim Thornborough's series of Bible stories. We have Esther and the Very Brave Plan, as well as God's Very Colorful Creation. These are ethnically accurately depicted, and the rhyme in them will just have kids' attention. They'll start learning some of the basic stories that we all love, with beautiful, beautiful illustrations. Next, we have What Do I Do with Worry? This is a great book that starts to teach kids how to express their feelings and what to do when they're afraid. So our main character gets invited to a birthday party and she starts worrying about all of the what ifs. But then Grandma comes to the rescue and teaches her how we shouldn't hold on to our worry birds because they start to squirm and wiggle and they're not happy when we hold them. So we have to learn how to release them and let God take care of them for us. All right, next for our 6 to 8-year-olds, we have the Acrostic of God. This is a great book that uses the alphabet to describe the different attributes of who God is. And it pairs each one with an explanation as well as biblical references to prove their point. So like God is love. Tell God How You Feel by Christina Fox is another one that teaches kids how to express their feelings. This one goes through 5 different short stories that follow Mia and Josh as they deal with rejection and loneliness and anxiety. And it uses the Psalms to help the kids learn how to get past all of those different feelings. All right, next in that same genre, we have What Do You Say to a Dragon? Dragons have always had a special place in my heart. I absolutely love them. So I was really intrigued by this cover. The kid wakes up from a dream, and the dream is this big scary dragon who's trying to talk to him. And his parents give him the advice of, well, why don't you talk to the dragon and see why he's there? So he does, and he learns that the dragon didn't mean to be scary or make him afraid. He just was having a rough day, and that caused him to have a bit of an attitude. So he learns to be friends with the dragon instead. All right, so number 27 in the Imagination Station series has just come out. This is a great story about the Holocaust, and the kids have to escape before the Nazis invade, but there's a catch, like always. They have a family of Jews now that they have to help escape during this time as well. So it's really fun, really historically accurate, and just kind of gives kids an introduction of what happened during that time. All right. Max Lucado has come out for Anxious for Nothing for young readers. This brings his book for adults. It's the same concepts, but he brings it down to a level that kids will understand and can learn from. So it teaches them how to live in peace and to not be weighed down by the worries and fears of the world. Breaks it up into different chapters. All right. These next 3 by Chris Morphew are a great series that teaches kids how to answer as well as learn the answers, I guess, to these difficult questions that we face. So each one tackles a different questions. What happens when we die? Why does God let bad things happen? And how do we know that Christianity is real? And each one breaks up into different chapters different aspects of that question and how it can be answered. So like, what does the Bible really say about birth? Different things like that. And it delves deeper so that when kids are asked these questions, they know how to answer them. Yeah. All right, next we have the fourth one in the Wing Feather series. This storyline happens before the other ones actually come to be. So this is 7 different historical stories that allow some background information on the grandpa and the different adventures that he went on, kind of giving us some insight into why he is the way he is. Yeah. Okay, these next 3 books by Shannon Hill are all in a series. They are graphic novels, which has been very, very popular for kids for the last few years. These are a great coming of age story. Our main character, Shannon, learns the difficulties of middle school and finding friends that are real and long lasting. The titles are Real Friends, Best Friends, and Friends Forever. And each one takes a different step in the middle school process. All right, Gary Schmidt has come out with another one. It's called Just Like That. It goes through 2 different point of views in the same time frame. We follow Mary Kowalski, who has just entered a boarding school right after losing her best friend. And so she's struggling through the grief process at the same time of starting a new school. And then we also follow Matt Coffin, who ends up with a bag full of money from a gang now that he has to run away from and deal with all of those struggles. It really talks about loneliness and how to find hope through all of that. Great. All right, this next one is a beautifully illustrated book on the Pilgrim's Progress. This one's a bit different than some of the other ones that have come out. They have changed all of the characters into furry little woodland creatures, which makes for a really fun story to a classic that we have all come to love. Let me see if I can. And the illustrations are black and white pencil illustrations, but they are absolutely stunning. This really brings it down to a level that kids will understand. And with the illustrations, they will be drawn into it and really get into the story. All right, this next one is a super fun book on siblings and getting a new one and how to live with them. It's How to Return a Monster by Charlotte Offsay. She decides that she's tired of this sibling that takes the attention away from her. So she goes through and prepares this little monster to be returned in the mail. She gets stamps and puts it all over the stamps, and she gets ready to just wait for the mail carrier to pick her up. But through that process, she learns how fun it would be to actually have a sibling and decides to keep the little monster after all. These next 2 are part of the God Made series. It talks about heaven and how we are made in the image of God. They're really just great introductions into these 2 concepts. What is heaven like and how are we made in the image of God? It's a great series, highly recommend. All right, this next one called Birds of the Air is a great telling of why God chose a dove to be representative of his spirit. It's told from the perspective of the birds. And so they're each going, God's going to pick me to be the representation of the spirit because of this or this or this. But God ends up choosing the dove, the least likely to have been picked. And he loves to pick the lesser people, not necessarily lesser, but just a really cute, whimsical story about the semblance of the dove. All right, this next one called Love is by Paula Escobar, who is a fantastic artist, does great illustrations. Each page is paired with a part of 1 Corinthians 13:4, and it goes through the entire verse, and the same page. And just has beautiful pairings that will start to teach kids what love is and what it means. Walter is an adorable little French bulldog, and Walter does his best. This little dog tries to be helpful and kind, but much like how kids try to be helpful and end up making things worse, so does Walter. So it's a cute story in how to be patient as kids are learning how to be kind and how not to make things worse, as well as to get over perfectionism. Even kids have to deal with that. And when things don't go their way, they kind of get sad. But the mom in the story at the end encourages Walter that even though he didn't always get it right, he still tried his best, and that's what really matters. This next one, I was really excited when it came out. This is called The Grumbles by Amy Parker. This is a hilarious story about the Grumble family, who do a lot of what their name implies. They cry over the silliest things, and just like any family, they have issues. But Grandma Grateful comes to visit and teaches them what it means to be grateful and to have gratitude. And so they learn to change their grumblings into gratitude. All right. What is God Like by Rachel Held Evans and Matthew Paul Turner is a great picture book that teaches us different attributes of God and how we can find him and different things that we have in our everyday lives. I love the colors in this book. They're so fun, very vibrant. So like this one is like God is like a best friend. Kids have best friends. They can relate to that. So this is just a cute depiction of what God is really like. This next one is absolutely hilarious. Stab the Man, the Myth, and the Legend by Mifflin Lau. Kids often like to depict their dads as these great superheroes, which they are, but they go through different things that dad is, with cute little quips from the mom that shows the reality of everything. There's a page in here where he's racing a car. The kids see him as this great, car racer, and he's really getting pulled over by the cops because he's speeding. All right. Hiding Baby Moses is a story told from the perspective of Moses' sister. I really liked that spin on the story. We get to see how hard it was for her to go through losing her baby brother, and how she was there when Pharaoh's daughter picked him up, and she was able to run back to her mom and get her to nurse the baby. So it was cool. She didn't want to give up her baby, so she followed him. And through that, God honored that and allowed her a little bit more time with her brother. All right, Made by God by Tony Evans is a story that talks on how we're all made differently and how we should celebrate those differences instead of tearing each other down. And it just goes through of how we need to stand up for each other when we see that people are getting torn down, whether it's because of their skin color or their hair type or whatever it may be. This next one is by Nathan and Joy Clarkson.